Good afternoon. This midweek refresher is going to be in the driveway today where most everybody's skateboard journey started. Um, and it goes out to Ezra. Shout out to him. He is new to skateboarding. And so we're going to get into that. But before we do, Isaiah 43:18 and 19 says, "Forget the former things and do not dwell on the past. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." So we are talking to brand new skateboarders today. Um, Hopefully that's you. If not, hopefully you'll get the confidence to try soon. But that first verse in Isaiah saying, "Forget the former things of the past." Maybe in the past you've thought skateboarding was too dangerous, or that it's too risky for you, or that you'd never try that. So maybe I can give a couple tips and tricks to kind of get you onto the board for the first time, and some things that will help you feel more comfortable. So the first tip is starting in the grass. So today it's a little soggy in the yard, so I got my artificial turf here. Um, and starting in the grass, why would I do that? It's so that the wheels don't move as easy. And what that allows me to do is start to find my balance on the board and start to learn how to adjust my feet and taking out the variable of the wheels rolling on the ground. So with that, you're going to always adjust your front foot first where you want it, and then your back foot. Okay. And when you're starting on the ground, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to adjust my front foot first and then my back foot. One question that Ezra had this week was, what's proper riding position? Because he started in the driveway just like many of us, and he started by riding the board this way. Now, that is not wrong, but the idea is that once you get rolling, your front foot is then going to shift sideways on the board. Now, you want to do that so that the crease, your toe crease, can touch this edge of the board, and your heel can touch the other edge of the board. That's going to allow me to put weight on my toes or weight on my heels to be able to turn. And I'm not going to be doing that straight up and down like the Eiffel Tower, okay? I'm going to have some bend in my knees, and that's going to allow me to lean on my toes or my heels. Another thing when you're first starting is that you are going to start, your foot's going to be sideways on the board, and your other foot's going to be on the ground. What I recommend you do is try to put your front foot to where it's covering up these two bolts here. Okay, that's usually a good place to start. And that'll keep your weight from being too far forward, but it'll also give you enough space to put your back foot on the board. So one drill that you can practice in the grass that's going to be the start of you finding balance in your front leg, and it's also going to be the start to the pushing, is once you've put your foot right there on the bolts, you start to sweep the ground with your right leg here. Okay, what that's doing is I'm able to find the balance in my front leg and getting starting of the muscle memory of what it's like to push on the ground. So once I sweep the ground, then I'm going to put my right leg on the back. Now my right leg, I recommend you put it and just cover up the bolts here. Okay, if we were to draw a stick figure skateboarding, we would probably put one foot in the middle of the board and the other foot on the tail. But what that does is if you put your foot on the tail, it makes the board very reactive. And for just riding, you're not going to need that. That will come into play when you start to do ollies and kick turns and things like that. You'll move your foot from here farther down the back of the board. But one good practice is I start here, I sweep the ground, I put my back foot on the bolts, and then I work to turn my front foot so that now I'm riding, okay? Now, my knees, my toes, and my hips are going to be facing sideways, but my chest and my shoulders are going to turn forward. Now, not all the way forward, okay, because this is uncomfortable. It's kind of like catty corner, like I guess that would be, if this is 0 and this is 90, then I'm going to put my shoulders kind of at a 45 here. But it's okay if my chin and my eyes are looking forward to where I'm going. Okay, and that kind of hints towards the next thing, is that as you're riding, you're not going to look down, you're going to look forward towards where you're going, and that'll help your center of gravity and your balance. Another thing is to have just a little bit of bend in your knees, and that way you're ready for anything, okay? As you start to get on the concrete, you'll notice that the board is a little bit looser and it's a little bit quicker. And one way that you can combat that is to have a little bit of bend in your knees. Very seldom am I going to ride the board straight up and down like this. Okay, so now that I've practiced this in the grass, okay, and I'm able to hop on the board, you notice my foot is, I'm almost to the point that my foot is turning, just automatically. It starts to become muscle memory as you practice this more. Then you may be ready to start on the ground. Okay, and so when you start in the concrete, I'm going to do a thing that hadn't really come up with a term for this yet, but it's kind of like you're walking with your skateboard, okay? Because we're learning to trust the wheels more than we do the concrete. So this is a natural feeling where the board's wanting to slip. So you're going to just baby steps, okay? Now with those baby steps, you'll notice the more strength you get out of your front leg and the more comfortable you feel on the board. I wouldn't recommend doing it backwards like this. I'm just doing that to stay in the frame. But as you're doing that, your steps will get a little bit farther apart. Kind of each time, or not each time, but as you progress, you'll notice that the strides on your feet, it'll take longer. You won't have to touch the ground quite as much because you'll find that balance in your front leg. Okay, so that's kind of a quick course there, and I may add details a little bit later. And anyone who touches a skateboard, you have a chance to land your first trick. Okay, that first trick is the board being out in front of you, putting your foot on the tail, and popping it up into your hand. Okay, when you do this, you're actually going to pick your right leg up after you pop it on the ground and then catch it in your hand. Going back to our verse there, the very end of it says, I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. How long does it take to make a river in the desert? It may take a long time, and it may also take you a long time to start to feel comfortable on a skateboard. But I recommend that you stick with it. A couple tips are, try to use the same pair of shoes each time. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy a new pair of shoes unless they are Crocs, but something with a good flat bottom and not a lot of pad. If you're wearing runner shoes, that's okay, but you'll notice that something that has a flat sole, you'll be able to feel the board underneath your feet, and that'll help you to be able to know where your feet are without having to look down. So that's kind of the first course. Start to find balance in your front leg. Your whichever leg is in the front. It may be a muscle you got to work a little bit to start to find that balance. And then the last thing I've got for you before we stop today is so after we've done this here and we're on the board and we are riding, okay, we are rolling down the hill. You don't have to land every trick, okay? There's going to be times where you're going to feel off balance and you're going to want to bail off the board. I recommend that you bail off the board with both feet, okay, whether that be to the toes or to the heels. You want to bail off the board with both feet, and based on the amount of speed you have, it may be kind of a running start kind of deal, but very seldom do I want to bail off the board with just one foot, okay? Hope that helps. You guys get out there, get in your driveway, give it a shot. And we hope to see you at the Auburn Opelika Skate Park every Sunday at 1:30.